Hello, my art-loving people out there. I have an array of swatches that have been in the window now for 2 years. I know we just recently did a Lightfast update on some other brands. These are different brands, and it's been 2 years this time. So this is exciting. I am very interested to see the 2-year results. So let's just get into it because it's probably going to take a minute. First off, we have this swatch. This is a whole bunch of, not random, this is a whole bunch of specific cobalt violets that Kimberly Crick sent to me because she wanted me to put them in the window up here in the mountains because at the time she was still in Florida, and see how they did. So this has been in the window since March of last year. So it's actually been a year and like 4 months, but you know, we won't count that, 5 months actually. So this is the window. Window will always be on the left, drawer will always be on the right. So after 1 year, everything's looking pretty good until we get down to, which is that? The Imgram Mineral Violet, looks like. Oh, nope, I missed this one, sorry. That is the Da Vinci Cobalt Violet. That one did fade right here. But it's interesting, it faded in the mass tone, but the gradient looks fine. Very interesting. I don't see any differences in the Turner. So yeah, just that Imgram Mineral Violet in the mass tone faded, but not the gradient. Huh, that's so backwards. Well, these all look great, and I am glad to see the Prodigal Sons Violet, the Cobalt Violet Deep, did not fade, so that's good. And their Cobalt Violet Pale didn't fade either. Sweet, because I have both of those, and it's nice to know they have not faded. Okay, well, there's a bunch of Cobalt Violets. We have, I guess you should probably know the brands, Szmal, Prodigal Sons, Da Vinci, Turner, Imgram, Windsor Newton, QoR, and Mission Gold. Speaking of QoR, let's do QoR next. So these have been in the window. This is my QoR palette. At the time, I only had 24 colors. Now I have 26, I believe. So this Naples yellow right here, it is Naples yellow, right? Yep, that Naples yellow and this indigo have not been tested, at least not on these swatches. You're testing the colors you would get if you bought the QoR 24 tube set. And I'll tell you which ones faded out of the set once we pull them up. Let's look at the yellow side first. Again, the one on the left has been in the window, and you can see because the Sharpie line fades a lot on these. Everything looking pretty good. I have recently stopped using the Sharpie because you see the Sharpie line fade and it makes you think the paint has faded, but it hasn't. So you got to be really careful with that and don't let that human eye fool ya. So I think this orange has faded a little bit in the gradient, and it's showing up more drastically on camera than it is in person. And that Sharpie line faded so much it's really deceiving, but I believe it did fade, and that is the transparent pyrrole orange. The rest look okay to my human eye. I can tell in the camera that you guys might think this one has faded a little bit, and maybe it has. And if it has, that one is the permanent alizarin crimson. The rest look great. Okay, so let's try the not yellow side. Here we are, all of these beautiful colors, so pretty. I don't know, do you guys see any fading? You know, the last time I did this test, I was like, oh my gosh, all my browns, my favorite browns have faded, and I'm just not seeing that so much this time, so what's up with that? I think I was overly dramatic in that previous video when I did the QoR Lightfast results. I don't know. I guess in the camera this one does look like the gradient faded, but I cannot see that in person. That color is the raw sienna here, and the one below it is Van Dyke Brown, followed by raw umber, and they look fine. So then we have Payne's Gray, which I did not get into a gradient, neutral tint, and white. I think they all look okay, guys. I don't know what I saw last time that I was so sad about. Okay, putting that away. Next up, we have the Koi watercolors. And since I had them, I put them on the swatching here. So this is the set that I tested. It has 24 colors in it. And I actually thought I was giving this away to one of you. And why do I still have it? Was I supposed to use it for something and then give it to you? If you're that person and you remember, would you let me know? Because I thought I was supposed to send this to you. Anyway, I still have it for some reason. It's kind of scary. If I said I was going to send something and didn't. But let's look at the yellow side first. Here we are. So quite a few drastic differences. I would say if you're going to use this palette and you want things to be light fast, the top yellow would be safe. This red and this blue on this strip. The rest, forget about it. And I don't know what those colors are. If this came with a brochure, I have long since lost it telling me what the colors were, because this is one I've had since the beginning of my entire watercolor journey. But those three colors are good. I can point on the palette where those colors are. So it's this yellow, that red right here, and which blue? This blue. So that one, and that one on this swatch. Let's look at the next swatch. Here they are. So more on this are okay. And remember, this has been 2 years. It's actually been 2 years and a month. So that blue is fine. And that's this blue right here. This green, you know, ironically, the one I would call their Prussian blue looks great. It may be faded, like in the camera, it looks like it's faded in the gradient, but not in person so much. So that's either their Prussian blue or their indanthrene. I'm not sure because I can't really tell, but it was this one here in front of the bright green. The bright green looks okay. So that one's safe. The Viridian looks fine. The green below that is not okay. This olive green looks fine. So this one here, their yellow ochre, I assume it's a yellow ochre. It looks a little bit deeper than a raw sienna, so I'm saying probably yellow ochre. That looks fine. Burnt sienna looks fine. All the rest look fine. So that's probably a Payne's gray and a black and a dark brown. Interesting. So you could get away with quite a few colors in this palette for quite a while. Just be careful and use only that one yellow and that one red and those 2 blues. Well, maybe 3 blues with this dark one there. That's pretty cool. I'm glad to see that. I'm interested to see that anyway. Next up here is Windsor Newton, and I do have a couple of new colors that aren't on this swatch sheet. So I have just the ones on the outside edges on the Lightfast testing, but I did receive some new colors. Gifts from one of you that's very generous. Thank you so much. I still need to play with those on the channel. And this was a Payne's gray here. Can't remember how I got a whole thing of Payne's gray. Have to watch all my old videos, haha. Anyway, let's see how they did for Lightfast testing. Here we are, looking good. So what color is that? Where's my swatch sheet for that? It's in a different place because I was using this. So Scarlet Lake, no, that's not Scarlet Lake. That's the permanent, no, that isn't, what is that? I'm so confused, hang on. Oh, I completely redid my palette since I did this, so I have to guess what the color is. I am guessing, and I'm sure it's correct. This one here is the Scarlet Lake. So after 2 years, the gradient and the mass tone have changed a little bit. Now the gradient's obvious, the mass tone doesn't look very obvious in person, but on camera, but in person it looks darker, like the one in the window has darkened. This is the permanent alizarin crimson, and I don't think it's changed. It's a little bit of a mottled swatch to start with, so maybe a little, but barely. And this is 2 years. Remember, 2 years. These all look good. I think everything else is fine until finally you get to the Opera Rose. Now, when we tested this last year, it still looked the same, if I'm remembering correctly, and we were pretty impressed that the Windsor Newton Opera Rose didn't change. And I remember the Sennelier was one as well. However, 2 years now, and it is changed. Good to know. Good to know. It's 2 years and a month. Next up, we have the Mission Gold. This is the 36 tube set that I've tested. This is the palette and the colors you would get if you bought that really affordable $60-some kit on Amazon. It comes with 36 tubes of paint. Great paint, such a good deal. So let's see how the colors held up. We'll start with the yellow swatch, and remember, the one on the left has been in the window, the one on the right in the drawer. Okay, so I'm only seeing 2 drastic differences, but let's take a closer look. Actually, that first yellow did fade in the gradient. I should probably keep the swatch sheet out so I can tell you which colors these were that faded, huh? So you could mark them on your own palette if you need to or want to. So that's the lemon yellow. The next ones look fine until you get to this one. The gradient did fade a little bit. That is the yellow orange, this one here. now that I'm looking closer, it's possible the permanent yellow deep faded in the gradient as well, but that one's a little harder to tell. The orange definitely faded in the gradient. You can see that. It's really obvious. The mass tone still looks okay. The vermilion faded in the gradient. The permanent red faded in the gradient. So this is interesting. This is the quinacridone permanent rose, and it darkened. The one in the window is darker now than the one that's been in the drawer. Rose madder darkened, and we lost the gradient. This is after 2 years. Again, remember, quinacridone crimson lake. That one's hard to tell. I'm gonna say it stayed the same. You might be able to argue that this one darkened a little, but I can't really tell that for sure because I have a darker splotch on this side as well. Obviously, the bright opera is a no-go. A beautiful color though when it's original. 2 years original in the drawer, but you know what I mean. Okay, so let's look at the next ones. We'll start with the, let's do the purples. Here it's the swatch sheet as a whole. And let's bring it up. Red violet. I think it's the same. Maybe it darkened or my swatch just got lighter as I painted it. That one's a little bit hard to tell. Okay, bright clear violet. They do not advertise that as Lightfast. In fact, it's one of those they clearly state on the tube is not very Lightfast. That one looks great. This one looks great. That one looks great. Ultramarine looks great. This one here is Prussian blue. So the gradient faded the tiniest bit. It's pretty subtle though. After 2 years, that's pretty good. And I only pulled these out of the window a few minutes ago. Like right before I started this video, I pulled these out of the window. So they've been sitting up there. So I haven't been in a drawer recovering like some Prussian blues can. This is their indigo. It looks fine. Van Dyke green looks good. Viridian looks great. Hooker's green looks great. Sap green looks great. Last one. Here it is as a whole picture. Let's take a closer look. You might say, see, it's hard with that darn Sharpie line fading. I can't tell if that yellow-green faded or not. Maybe a little bit in the gradient. The greenish yellow looks fine. The yellow ochre number 1 looks fine. The one below that, raw umber, definitely faded. Burnt sienna looks fine. This is the light red brown here, and we lost a little bit of the color in the gradient. So there's still a lot of paint right there. In person, you can't see the paint as much. There's quite a lot of paint. It just lost some of its redness. The red brown looks great. What is this one? Burnt umber looks good. Interesting, this Van Dyke brown. I would have thought that, like on my swatch here, look how deep and dark that Van Dyke brown is. But on this, it's super light. So I wonder if I swatched it light or did it fade in the drawer and in the window? I mean, they both look consistent side to side. So I would say it hasn't changed from one side to the other, but that's not how I would expect that Van Dyke brown to look. Then we have sepia looking the same and ivory black looking the same. Good job, Mission Gold overall, I would say. Not too bad, not too bad. A couple of the colors that faded I'm kind of surprised about in this range here, but I don't have their tubes out and I didn't put it on this swatch sheet. I do that now. I put it on the swatch sheet so I can reference it, but I don't know what they actually said their Lightfast ratings are for those. Kind of interesting. All right, we're gonna do the Daler-Rowney Aquafine set because I don't have that palette with me. I lent it out to a friend and haven't gotten it back quite yet, okay? So the Daler-Rowney Aquafine is just from there down. Those top 2 colors are a different set. So this is that little flat pack Daler-Rowney 12 or 10 colors. The top 4 colors are definitely a no-go. So none of their yellows or reds are good. Both the blues look fine. This one maybe faded the tiniest bit in the gradient. Again, this has been 2 years. This green is faded. The Viridian looks fine, or the Phthalo green, whichever one. I mean, that's obviously not a true reading, but whatever they're calling it, I should say. And in person, this swatch doesn't look changed, but in the camera, it looks like we lost the gradient a tiny bit. And I don't know which is more accurate, the camera's view screen or my eyes. I'm not sure. And I would say that burnt sienna is mostly the same. It looks a little darker, so not fully the same, but not fully changed either. So there you go. Daler-Rowney Aquafine. I'll leave the black and white out. What are they from? Okay, so this black and white are from the Kuretake portable set. This one here. I love this set so much. These paints are awesome. My two favorite colors are the gray and the natural beige right here. And it comes with a really nice water brush, a nice fine liner. It's a 01, so it's a little thinner than I really like to use. So eventually I'll replace that with an 05, but I love this set. So the black and the white, I mean, I can't really tell on the white, but I can see white paint there. So I would say that they are fine. And let's find the rest of that. Here's the one that's been in the window. It's not looking good, but we have a lot of Sharpie line fading too. And I don't know if they even claim these paints to ever be Lightfast. So that top yellow looks fine. Maybe the gradient has faded. That's the lemon yellow. The one below that has completely faded. That's cadmium yellow. Interesting right here. This one's total mess. That's just called red. The one below that is the rose madder. Cobalt violet, sap green light, they've all faded. This brown looks perfectly fine. That's burnt sienna. The raw umber deep here looks perfectly fine. Cobalt blue looks great. Ultramarine blue is unchanged. That dotting there is from something I had on the window, so that is not fading. That's contamination. Natural beige looks great, and the gray looks like it has lightened up a little bit. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I take that back. The natural beige is also a little bit lighter. Not very much, though. Both of these are not too much lighter, and this has been 2 years, so it's interesting. Love this set. Just love it. Love the palette, love the colors, and love a lot about it. Well, since we're on the Kuretake kick, let's do this green box here. So this is the one that comes with these 12 colors. Let's see how they did. Unfortunately, I have a lot of window contamination on this swatch sheet, so it is not the paint fading. It's, I don't know if it was a cleaner I had on the window or bug juice or what, but unfortunately all this white dotting is not the paint's fault. Not at all. Well, at least I don't think so. All right, everything's fading. Okay, we have some colors that haven't. Red number 32, bad. Rose madder deep, not Lightfast. Cad scarlet, not Lightfast. This yellow, not Lightfast. What is that? Lemon yellow. Sap green, not Lightfast. Viridian, it is not too bad. I would say maybe it has darkened a little bit. Maybe not, actually. It's faded. Just a little. Not too bad after 2 years. I think the ultramarine is unchanged. So hard to tell with those contamination dots. The indigo is not too bad for an indigo. It did fade, just not much. Yellow ochre looks great. Burnt sienna looks pretty darn good. I don't even see fading in the gradient in the burnt sienna. The black looks fine, and the white, I can still see it there. The Sharpie line faded, but the white is still there. Okay, so there's your Kuretake green box set. Fun set. Don't pull it out and use it very often, but I do like it. Okay, so next here we have two Sennelier colors that I received on a trip, Mexico retreat. That was a super fun trip. Fun video too. Didn't get a lot of watch time. I'm not sure if the thumbnail wasn't interesting or what, but it was a really cool video, so I'll link that for you so you can watch it if you want. This is the bright red, Sennelier's bright red, and it doesn't look like it changed at all. Don't let that Sharpie line fool you, people. And then cadmium yellow light. That one also looks unchanged. Man, that Sharpie line, so deceiving. So 2 years. And then up here we have the Roman Szmal colors. Now, my Roman Szmal palette used to be just the original 5 colors that came in the 5 color starter pack or whatever that you can buy on Jackson's. And those 5 colors are the lemon yellow, Aquarius red, ultramarine light, Aquarius green, and the Caput Mortuum. So that's the colors you see here. Let's see what they faded. Okay, so the lemon yellow faded a lot. Does it have a... Oh, I didn't have the Lightfast ratings marked down on these, so it must not have been something I did at the time. Beats me. The Aquarius red faded a little bit in mass tone. Barely. I would say barely. This is 2 years again. So the ultramarine light, I think it's unchanged. So hard to tell, that stupid Sharpie line. I'm pretty sure it's unchanged. Aquarius green and Caput Mortuum are unchanged. Good news. So except for the yellow, guess we don't use that one in our important paintings, do we? Next up we have this pretty excellent set of 36 colors, and this is what happens to them all the time, and it drives me crazy. And the last time it did that, I said, forget it. I'm not going to try and figure out where they live, and I just left it. But You can still get this set, and they actually come in half pans now. So Lindsay just showed the new set on her channel not very long ago, the Frugal Crafter. So check that out. But they are great paints. Let's see how they hold up over time. These are the ones that have been in the window here. Let's start with the yellow side. Gotta find them. Yellow and white. Can't tell anything on the white. Look at that yellow. This is 2 years and their yellow hasn't even faded. Or if it has, it's barely the lemon yellow. The yellow under it, yeah, that one faded. Okay, fine, it faded. The orange definitely is gone, bye-bye. Same with the next orange. So this one is not too bad, that's 2 years. So we've lost a lot in the gradient. Mass tone doesn't look too much different, so that's interesting. But look at this one. So I had window contamination on that one too, but wow, hugely different, hugely different. This one looks great. I only have numbers on these, so number 205 looks great. Number 206, not too bad, definitely faded in the gradient. Number 0, actually I think this is 6, I may be all wrong here. I think this one's 206 here, that's 205, and this one is 601. Yes, 601, 205, 206, sorry, messed all that up. 003 is not Lightfast at all. And I think this one here is supposed to be 502. See, it looks more like 003. Yeah, forget the numbers. I don't even know. I think everything's messed up here. Shouldn't be. They should be in order. This should be 502. It just doesn't look at all like the 502 in my swatch sheet. So that's kind of interesting. Well, on this page, you can use the super bright yellow. I would say you could get away with this red here. I think that's number 601. That's about it. Let's go to the purple side here. Here it is at a glance. And let's bring it closer. So 544 and 348 are no-goes. Big fading. 231. Really darkened. I like the color it darkened too, but you probably won't like that in your painting. 679 looks great. It looks like maybe a cobalt blue or something. Very nice. 129 faded a lot, but look at this one. 327, no change. It's beautiful. Same with the next two. 174 and 660, no change. This one changed a little bit. 654, it changed hue. The one I like to call their indigo looks like it didn't change at all. 538, very interesting. And this one looks like a Prussian or Indanthrene or something. Number 322, no change. And the green changed a little bit in the gradient, darkened a little bit in the mass tone. Last row of 12, hello cat. That green did not work. That's number 399 or 3, it's hard to see, 399. 314 is okay, 312 is fine, 646 looks great. The olive green is no-go, that's number 447. Wow, this one looks great, 744. This one looks great too, it just has the window contamination on it, so ignore that. That's not from it fading, that's number 552. All the rest of these are fine. So that's pretty cool. This entire last row of paints you could use and feel pretty confident that they're gonna last for a while, except for 344 and 447, because all the rest of these are not changed. That's neat. These have always been pretty impressive. Next, we have the Van Gogh pocket set, but I incorporated the pocket set of paints into my big Van Gogh palette here. So we have to look up which paints came in the pocket set, unfortunately. I could probably tell by the pans. No, the pans all look so similar to the ones that came in the mail. Anyway, I can tell a couple of these that are from the pocket set, so I'll be able to tell you a few things here. Van Gogh pocket set. The white is still there. Can't tell if it faded or not, obviously. The yellow looks unchanged. That's this yellow here, which is Azo Yellow Medium. And the other yellow that came with it, see, because I had some duplicates. I don't know. Anyway, this is the Van Gogh pocket set. It's the regular, I know they have a bunch of different pocket sets, but this was like the most standard one. So that yellow maybe is starting to fade in the gradient. It's pretty subtle to my human eye. The camera may be picking that up a little bit more. And then that next color definitely faded the tiniest bit. It's so subtle though. I would call that probably barely to nothing. This alizarin crimson-like color definitely faded, and that is Madder Lake Deep. Wow, that blue faded a lot. Well, it didn't fade, it changed hue, completely changed hue. And that is supposed to be their ultramarine. I'm pretty certain on that one, because ultramarine is what comes in their pocket set. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, ultramarine deep. Interesting. And then that color faded too, and that's the cerulean blue, the one below it right here. Their sap green faded barely. Actually, did it? I don't think it did. I think I'm letting that Sharpie line fool me. I don't think their sap green faded. Viridian looks fine. Yellow ochre looks unchanged. Burnt sienna and black both look great. Pretty impressive overall. I'm sad about the ultramarine. I'm curious if their regular ultramarine would fade. Do I have? No, I have an indigo. So yeah, I don't have just a regular ultramarine, just the ultramarine deep. Well, we may have to try that someday. Next, we have the brand Savoir Faire, and this is their gouache, except for these two at the bottom right here. This is something different. So I have the box of gouache, but it's a little hard to get to, but it's just the Savoir Faire. You can go look it up. It doesn't look like it's that impressive anyway, so you may not be interested in it. As far as Lightfast. As far as painting with it, I had a good time when I did it, but I've only painted with it once. So these two blues look fine right here. This lime green looks fine. This green here is not too bad. It has faded in the gradient, and the mass tone has changed hue a little bit, but it's actually not too bad. So there are some colors in here that have tested the time. It's been, 2 years. And then down at the bottom is a Windsor Newton Naples Yellow gouache, and this is a Turner Scarlet gouache. So the Turner Scarlet has darkened a little bit. The Windsor Newton looks the same. Well, let's back to Savoir Faire. Let's do the other side here. All right, so the two browns are probably okay. And that yellow ochre is fine, definitely unchanged. All the reds and oranges and yellows are pretty well gone except that one. That's interesting. So the bright one, you could probably get away with using for a while. And then this lemony type of yellow is not too bad. We obviously lost the gradient on it, but the mass tone's pretty good. And you tend to use gouache in more mass tone, so you could get away with that yellow, that red, all of those browns, those two blues, and probably these greens. If you wanted to use them for something. Well, there's the Savoir Faire gouache. Last but not least, is all of this. This one's a little different. Paul Rubens student grade paint. So this has been 2 years. Let's see what they look like. Except for the bottom here. The bottom here is something different. I'll show you that here in a minute. So let's look at this side first. So this is the tube paint. I think I got it for $10 or $15 one time on Prime Day or Black Friday. Anyway, I tested it out. I'll try and find that video and link for you there and in the description box below. But I couldn't find, I know I kept the box of paints, but since my studio reorganization, another video I'll link for you, I'm not sure where I put them. So I need to find them because I actually was wanting to use them again. Anyway, here they are. This is 2 years and nothing looks different. So this page here, the entire page, you know what I mean. All of these 6 colors are fine to use. And I'm so sorry, I wish I could tell you exactly which 6 they were, but if you look up the Paul Rubens, 12, 24, it's a set of 30 tube paints. So that's what this is from, and this is 2 years. No change. There is no change in any of these, at least not to my human eye. Okay. Except I do see a little bit of lightning on this corner of whatever color that is, probably a vermilion or something. That's it. That's all I see with my human eye. No, that's not a 30 set. That's an 18. Sorry about that. So that's 2, 4, 6, and 12. Yeah. Sorry, I counted the swatches wrong. That is the Paul Rubens student grade set of 18 tubes. Just 18, not 30 or whatever I said. These are different paints here. So down at the bottom, what do we have? Daniel Smith, Rhodonite Genuine, Quinacridone Coral, Da Vinci's Ultramarine Blue Violet, Da Vinci's Prussian Blue Green, Da Vinci's Naples Yellow Deep. So the top one has changed. That's the Rhodonite Genuine, has changed hue. We have not lost the mass tone or the gradient, it just changed hue. Same with the one below that, Quinacridone Coral, has darkened. The Da Vinci Ultramarine Blue Violet looks untouched, unchanged. In fact, all the rest look unchanged. Again, that is Prussian Blue Green and Naples Yellow Deep by Da Vinci. Very nice. And then we have this. This is in Handmade 10 Van Gogh and Homemade Paints. Trying to think. I have since this swatch, taken apart this whole palette and put these paints in other places, so they're in totally random places, but I can link the video where I used these paints because I know where some of them came from, and you can check the colors there. In fact, let me just get that out. Boy, this video is going to be long, but this finished sketchbook here is where I tested those, and somewhere right here. Yeah, so this is the painting I did, and here are the colors, so that makes that easy. So the first ones are Poems About You. The first 3 of these are Poems About You handmade paints. So the first one looks fine, and that's the Puzuli Red. This one is their Indigo, made with NB1, so yeah, natural blue. So that's an actual true indigo. What a treasure. But obviously not Lightfast, which we knew. Caput Mortuum PR101 looks unchanged. This, now we're getting into the soliloquy paints. This is their Potter's Pink. I would say it looks unchanged. Their Anthracite looks unchanged. The Glow, unchanged. And the sparkly one, that's a Jackman's paint, Mint Shimmer. And it looks unchanged, which is awesome because this is also 2 years. I actually thought some of these handmade paints would be less Lightfast. I don't know why. I mean, there's no reason for them to be less Lightfast. I just, for some reason, thought they would be. Naivety, I guess. And then Van Gogh's Quinacridone Rose did fade, changed hue a little bit. The Dusk Yellow definitely darkened, so that one is not trustworthy after 2 years. The Dusk or Dust? I wrote Dust, but I'm pretty sure it's Dusk Violet. Looks unchanged, which is great. I love that one. This is the Dusk Violet. This is the Dusk Pink. Okay, so all 3 of these, the Dusk Pink, Dusk Violet, and Dusk Green are unchanged after 2 years. Good news. So just don't use the Dusk Yellow, I guess. Beautiful. Good news. Well, that concludes our Lightfast testing of multiple brands today. Did you learn something? What were you surprised about? What were you not surprised about? But actually, I'm just most interested to know what really surprised you. That always fascinates me. Really cool to have these. I'm going to put them back in the window. I have a bunch of new paint. Well, new to me, not new to the world. Anyway, that I received from generous people last year and companies and whatnot that have sent paint to me that I need to get in the window. And I like to do them in batches like this, but boy, it does make for a long video. So thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope that you learned something, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now. Let go of her leg. You should not grab her leg. Jack. Yeah, she said enough. Jack. It's a good way to get her to use that bed that she never uses. Good kitty.